Simon closed his laptop and placed it carefully on the seat beside him. "Wait for me, John," he said as he opened the door. "I shan't be long." "Very good, sir." Stepping from the car, Simon looked up at the tall building across the street in front of him. He stepped through the battery of cameras, neither looking into their lenses nor avoiding them. Half an hour earlier, Gordon Fenderman had looked up at the same building in much the same way. He had made the mistake of trying to hold his briefcase up in front of his face as he ran the press gauntlet, which only served to make him look simultaneously guilty and absurd. He had left the house with a sensation in his stomach that he had not experienced for 20 years, since the days of lurking in terror of the police calling with news of Ned Madstone and a warrant for Gordon's arrest. His wife and son hadn't fooled him with their false joshing and cheery arm-punching at breakfast time. He had seen the dread in their eyes, clear as clear. They disbelieved him. They disbelieved him twice. First, they thought him guilty of a heinous betrayal of ethics, and second, they had no faith that he possessed the capacity to see this thing through. He had read that distrust in Portia's face. "Don't make it worse, Gordon. Please don't make it worse." The contempt they had for him. It was as though he had the letters F-A-I-L-U-R-E stamped across his forehead. "Look at me, I'm a schmuck," he wanted to shout at the other passengers in the elevator. "I'm a piece of shit. Laugh at me, why don't you? Help yourself. Everybody else does." When he was upset, Gordon still thought to himself in American. It helped him feel more of a person. Maybe, if his parents had not died so early, he would have been a success. What kind of upbringing did he have in that Hampstead nut house, anyway? Damn it, he was still living there, that same dark, dreadful house. He should have moved Porsche and Albie to the States on his passport years ago. For the price of the Plough Lane house, he could have bought a place in upstate New York, Ithaca maybe. Albie would have grown up American. Portia could have gotten a job at the university, and Gordon could have achieved there. Americans didn't have that snobby look in their eyes, that English public school politeness that was like a knife in the guts, the murmuring, "Gosh, awfully sorry," and that oh-so-self-deprecating smile. Self-deprecating my ass. They knew who was boss. They knew who was in and who was out. His family loved him, sure, but what kind of love was it that looked at you like you were a wounded deer? Too scared to say what they're thinking because they think you're too scared to hear it. That's not love. That's abuse. Abuse, nothing less. He loved them too. He knew that. He wanted to provide for them, protect them, be loved and adored by them. But he never got the chance. No one had ever asked his advice on the simplest question. Even plumbers and electricians, when they came to the house, they always asked Portia to show them the ring main or the stopcock or whatever damned thing. These days they asked Albie. It was like some instinct they had. He could be standing there in the middle of the room, master of the house, head of the family, but would they ask him if he wanted MDF or plywood? Jesus, the stink of failure he must give off. His own son was earning more, aged 17, than he had most years of his life. That fucking asshole Simon Cotter. His humiliation of Gordon would never end. On the 43rd floor, the board was waiting to meet him with all the usual hearty jokes and false civilities. Purvis Alloway came forward with a handshake and, sure sign of betrayal to come, the simultaneous hand on the shoulder. "Probably best, Mr. Chairman," how they loved the formality of titles, "if I chair this meeting, since it's mostly about, you know." Sure. Gordon waved the politeness aside. "I was going to suggest the same thing myself. Shall we be getting on?" Gordon, breathing heavily, felt sweat breaking out over his face as he sat at the opposite end from Alloway. He opened his briefcase and scooped out piles and piles of documents onto the table in front of him. An embarrassed silence fell, and he knew that he had overdone the paperwork. Only crazed litigants and public health scare fanatics carry so much documentation about with them, he realized. He could feel pins of sweat beginning to push out from every pore on his face, and he was breathing heavily as though he had taken the stairs. He sat down, flushed, while Alloway coughed and proceeded with business.